Hey guys, Steve here from Bloom Audio. Today we're going to talk about two new IEMs from Campfire Audio, Mammoth and Holocene. Not unlike the recent Honeydew and Satsuma, or the Polaris and IO before that, Mammoth and Holocene are sort of two different sides of a coin. You've got the fun low-end monster in Mammoth, and a more neutral, detailed, refined sound in Holocene. So in this video, we're going to take a look at the differences between Mammoth and Holocene, and also how they compare to some of these past Campfire Audio pairings. So when it comes to the look of the IEM, as well as the package, Mammoth and Holocene actually have a lot in common. So you get the standard Campfire Audio packaging. If you've ever purchased a Campfire Audio IEM or watched an unboxing video, you get these nice boxes. They come shrink wrapped with this little seal. Inside, a lot of the the ear tips and everything else are in these famous Campfire Audio cloth bags. These bags are also supposed to protect the IEMs themselves when they're packed up. So there's two sleeves. So for travel and other things, when you put them in the case, so you don't get scratched, you're supposed to pack them like into each individual one. That helps protect the IEMs. Again, whether you're putting them in your pocket or even if you're putting them in the case, from getting unnecessary wear and tear. So the IEMs themselves have that classic angular Campfire look, similar to the Andromeda, the Era, going back to the Jupiter. Yeah, you get a sort of a deeper, darker blue on Mammoth. It's a little bit different than Polaris, but it is a similar overall color scheme with the black nozzles and the blue shell. So fans of Polaris might like that look, in addition to the sound being somewhat in the same vein. I'm getting ahead of myself here. We're talking about the look, not the sound. And Holocene, again, we already talked about that. The cases are very colorful this time around, a little bit festive. The motif here, so Mammoth has this sort of, I don't know, it almost looks like an Illuminati all-seeing eye to me on a pyramid in the jungle. It's a cool design. And Holocene, I'm seeing UFOs and pyramids. Now, maybe I'm just seeing what I want to see, but you can let me know if you're also seeing, maybe some conspiracy theory related designs here with these two. So yeah, it's a great package, as we've come to expect from Campfire. So while the look of the two IEMs is really only differentiated by the color, and the packaging is only differentiated by your favorite conspiracy theory, the IEMs themselves really couldn't be that much more difference. Mammoth, as we've already kind of hinted at, follows in the footsteps of Polaris with this massive low-end presence and a tuning that's clearly more aimed at modern, electronically driven music. Holocene has a more neutral sound with linear bass, sparkling highs, and detailed mids that, honestly, it doesn't really evoke a specific previous Campfire model to me. This isn't like a retread of the IO or an upgrade on that. It's really its own unique thing. So starting with the Mammoth. Mammoth, the sound is, well, it's Mammoth. If Campfire captured one thing in these IEMs, it's a sense of absolute immensity. The soundstage combined with the bass just is this massive, deep, just immersive bass. If you're a fan of genres like, trance, or maybe some more ambient leaning EEM, you're going to find these really incredibly immersive with the way the low end and the space is presented. I'd also say, the rock of more modern rock, 90s and 21st century rock, sounds great in these as well. Guitars, kind of that modern production sound on electric guitar is going to sound really thick and heavy. Things like double bass and other things, fast bass movement feels tight, and, heavy impact. So it's gonna do really well with that. The mids are a little bit recessed, which is kind of expected. Though I found it handled most male vocals pretty well, where there's a little bit of weight missing in some female vocals, especially in that sort of alto contralto range, where sopranos, there's actually a good bit of air in the sopranos because the highs have a little bit of a stronger presence. But it's some of those mid-range female vocals that are a little bit left out, somewhere in between there. The timbre and overall versatility are also an improvement over, some of the other bass-heavy, like say the Polaris 2. But they're still not going to be a strong pick for something heavily driven by acoustic instruments or classic jazz, things like that. I still think there's going to be some weirdness in the instrument balance and the tonality with some of those genres. Holocene, on the other hand, has more focused on detail with a neutral sound signature and stronger technical performance. As I mentioned before, the bass is accurate, very well controlled. It's pretty linear with good depth, and there's a decent amount of impact, though not a highlight. Bass impact is definitely not a highlight there, but it's not missing. I wouldn't call it bass light. The mids are strong and well layered. There's some small recessions around there in the upper mids maybe, but not deep cuts are really scooped out. Just a little bit of fiddling around with ranges. So as you move from the mids into the treble, I feel like they do a really good job of not hitting those harsh tones that you sometimes associate with the upper mids and the treble, so that it's present but well balanced, doesn't become harsher or sibilant. Campfire Audio has a history of releasing earphones with this sort of duality that you see in Holocene and Mammoth. So I'm going to look back at a few other sub $1,000 IEMs that basically released in a pair, with one being neutral and the other being fun. So on the neutral side, we've got Satsuma, IO, and now Holocene. And on the fun side, we've got Honeydew, Polaris, and now Mammoth. So Satsuma, IO, and Holocene all share a generally neutral sound with a focus more on providing a detailed presentation without a lot of exaggerations anywhere in the tuning. Obviously, this isn't quite a fair comparison. Holocene's a bit more expensive than any of the other ones in here. So, and of the three, IO and Satsuma are a little bit more similar, where both of them have just a little bit more going in the mid-range, where like IO kind of has this little spike, and Satsuma doesn't have that same spike, but it has something similar going on, where you have this little bit of a mid-focus. It can, in some cases, enhance the vocal presentation, in some cases enhance instruments like acoustic guitars and pianos, but in other instances it can sound a little bit unnatural, where Holocene's tuning is more natural overall. It also, again, it's a more expensive IEM with more drivers and all of that. It's got a stronger bass presence and in terms of technical characteristics, the price basically tells the story. Where I think actually Satsuma, I prefer some aspects of that tuning over IO. I think IO may still be a little bit stronger technically, where Holocene, I think, kind of runs circles around the other ones in terms of having, bigger sound stage, stronger definition, just great layering and imaging as well. So on the other side, where you've got, Honeydew, Polaris 2, and Mammoth. I think there's some aspects and ways that they're a little bit closer overall. So while Holocene is kind of its own thing in Campfire's lineup, Mammoth is very much definitely a sort of Polaris 3, where the overall tuning and balance is very similar to Polaris 2, but there are some improvements all around. So the big one I noticed is, Mammoth just has a more natural timbre across the board. Generally has a tighter, faster response, where Polaris could feel like the response was a little loose at time. Mammoth feels faster and tighter. And compared with Honeydew, there's a similar overall balance, but there's some strong differences there where Honeydew definitely has a warmer signature across the board. And there's a more relaxed overall character to the presentation with Honeydew, where Mammoth is tighter. It's a little bit more forward in the presentation, and it's just overall stronger in a lot of ways. Again, like Polaris, Honeydew doesn't quite have the same tight dynamics as Mammoth, making it warmer, more relaxed, and kind of a little bit looser overall. Mammoth and Holocene are a great addition to Campfire Audio's lineup, and they represent a step up from their predecessors as well. Holocene fills a nice gap where it gives you a really strong performing detailed IEM that's under $1,000. Mammoth follows in this long line of bass heavy Campfire earphones that we all kind of love, whether it's a guilty pleasure or not. And they do a great job of that. And they're, again, an improvement from previous models like the Polaris 2. So put them together and they just make a perfect pair. So thanks for watching. Be sure to check out our products and reviews at bloomaudio.com. And we'll be back soon with more hi-fi personal audio content.